Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, and really give you a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is how Kawhi Leonard totally ended the Superteam era in the NBA. So that's the topic I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, be sure to check out the Dreamerspro Short Clips and Dreamerspro Podcast, which is linked in the description below. So, I think it's a pretty interesting topic that I want to get into in today's video. I really haven't heard anyone talk about it. Now, it's probably been mentioned on the internet. I haven't. So I said, okay, hey, listen, let me just touch on this topic, and I think it's pretty interesting. You guys will let me know what you think. So, you know that the NBA that we've been in has sort of always kind of been a super team league in different eras. You had the Magic Johnson, Lakers, Showtime Lakers at one point. You had the Boston Celtics teams that were loaded with Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and all these guys. And then even in the modern era. So if we think about in 2008 with the Boston Celtics that had, 2007 really, that's when they got them. With the Boston Celtics when they acquired Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett to play with Paul Pierce. That was the first time, at least I can remember, seeing anything like that in the NBA when we're talking about super teams, meaning having three Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers on the same team. Paul Pierce was one of the best scorers in the NBA, one of the best players in the NBA, certainly at his position. And then you go and get Ray Allen, who's probably the best shooting guard, or the best shooting guard at shooting. Let me say you have him. And you have Kevin Garnett, a regular season MVP and a defensive player of the year. You add him to that team. And that first season, the Boston Celtics ended up winning 60-plus games and winning the championship and beating the Lakers in the finals. They won their championship in the first season and beat the Lakers in 6 games. I remember because I watched it. And they won that title, right? And that was the first time we saw, at least for me, I can remember seeing a legitimate super team. Then the next time we saw it was with LeBron James. LeBron James, who was one of the best players in the world at that time, decided, hey, listen, I can't do this thing on my own. I can't beat the Boston Celtics with these guys crewed up like this. So he decided that he wanted to go to Miami to go pair with Dwayne Wade, who was already a finals MVP, one of the best players in the league, already led the league in scoring. So he was there, and he went and got Chris Bosh, who was a 20-10 guy playing for the Toronto Raptors. They brought them together, and all of a sudden you had the Heatles, right? And I remember then, that was in 2011, I believe, that the Miami Heat formed that team. And you remember when LeBron came out and said, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. Now, the reason he was saying that, apart from the fact that he was being very arrogant, the reason he was saying that is because look at the talent. How can you deny the talent? So this team could possibly win 7 titles if they put their mind to it, but they ended up winning 2 NBA titles. They lost the first one to the Dallas Mavericks, and then they won the next 2 against, I think, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and then they beat the San Antonio Spurs, and then they eventually, lost to the Spurs, which I'll get to later on. Then you fast forward to a little bit more modern era time, a little bit more present day. You think of the Warriors. The Warriors had a 71-win team, or 72 or 73-win team, I believe it was, 73-9 win team. But when they had Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson, it wasn't considered a super team because Draymond Green was an all-star, but he wasn't like, a top tier. He wasn't like a Chris Bosh type player. But they were just a really amazing team. And they had won the title. But then what happened? All of a sudden, they ended up acquiring Kevin Durant, who some could argue was probably the best player in the NBA. You add him to that team, and now they're unbeatable. Because on the court, you have 3 future Hall of Famers, first ballot, already on the court. And then you have guys like this that can shoot the hell out of the ball. So it created matchup nightmares, and you had to play the team man up. Because if you double team anybody, you're cooked. And Kevin Durant could essentially play one-on-one basketball, and he would just terminate you. There was nothing you can do with him, and that's why that team was just so hard to beat. So hard to beat because, come on, how do you deal with these guys? You can't double anybody. If you double, it's like pick your poison with these guys. And that was the last super team that we had in the NBA, like super team. So what happened? Kawhi Leonard and all of this was like the dynasty killer. First, it was with the San Antonio Spurs when they got the revenge on the Miami Heat, who beat them, by the way. But then the second time they played them, I think it was in I don't remember the year. I think it was like 2014 or so. They ended up beating that Miami team, with a record margin. And that was the end of it. After that, after Kawhi Leonard and these guys beat them, LeBron left and went back to Cleveland. And Dwayne Wade was getting older, or his knees were degenerating. I don't know what it was. And that was that. That was the end of that dynasty. I think it's really hard to imagine if the Miami Heat had won that finals and LeBron would have left, right? I don't think he would have. Why would you leave after you won? So there was that situation there. Then he moved to go play with the Toronto Raptors, not by his choice, because he didn't want to play in Toronto. And Fred VanVleet was recently on the JJ Redick podcast when he said when Kawhi Leonard got there, you could tell that this guy didn't even want to be there. So he didn't even want to be there, right? Went there, despite all of that, went to a new team that was already good, but needed a superstar, not a DeMar DeRozan, an all-star, a superstar. Went there, got them over the hump, and they won the title against who? The Golden State Warriors. Now, some people may say, hey, listen, Kevin Durant wasn't there, but he was certainly a part of the roster. He was part of that playoff run. He certainly helped them get to the finals. No one can deny that. And he helped knock off that team. Now, some of you may say, but how does this actually prove? I mean, but I need a little bit more evidence. This one move completely ended the super team era in the NBA. After Kawhi Leonard won that championship with the Toronto Raptors, he had the most leverage in the league that probably any player had had in a very long time. Because he was a free agent off of an NBA title who just won a finals MVP. When was the last time you heard something like that happen? So he won that, and now the question was, where does he sign? Does he re-sign with the Toronto Raptors, or does he go sign with the Lakers? Now, LeBron at the time, who was one of the architects of the super team era, one of the cornerstones behind it, I don't care about anybody, it's the truth. There's nothing to be offended by. I know that some people are going to get offended, but how can you be offended at the truth? So, it's just the truth. LeBron, who had already acquired AD, who loves to stack the table, nothing really good ever comes from that. I remember the time Kobe tried to do it when he got Pau Gasol, when he's a future Hall of Famer, Dwight Howard, who I don't know, and he tried to get Chris Paul, and it didn't work out, right? You can't cheat the process. So anyway, LeBron wanted him already, even though he already had another top 5 player in Anthony Davis, but he wanted Kawhi, because immediately if you add Kawhi to your team, you're going to win regardless, because you just take him off the board. And Kawhi Leonard decided, you know what, bump that, I'm going to go play with the Clippers. And with that one decision, we went from the super team to the dynamic duo league. In that one move, with him deciding not to go play with the Lakers, he went to go play with the Clippers, got Paul George, and all of a sudden, for the first time in a very long time in the NBA, we started seeing parity. Then you had LeBron and AD, that's one duo. You had Russell Westbrook and James Harden, that's another duo. You have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, that's another duo. You have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, that's another duo. And then now all of a sudden became the duo league. And essentially put an end to the NBA super team era. Now, we've heard some talks about possibly there being a return to the super team era with James Harden possibly go play with the Nets. I don't think it's going to happen. But since it hasn't happened, I think Kawhi Leonard successfully ended the super team era in the NBA. So what I want to know from you guys is quite simple. Do you agree with me? Do you think it's true? Do you think what I'm saying makes sense or not? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day. Peace.